Are you really nurturing your relationships? Are you spending the time necessary to truly build connections with people personally, professionally, in every area of your life? If you answered that question no, or even more importantly, if you said, I've never really thought about this before, this is the episode for you. We're going to dig into all the amazing things that can happen when you truly take the time to nurture the relationships of those in your life. My name is Amber Fuhriman, and this is the More Than Corporate podcast. Welcome to the More Than Corporate podcast. I'm Amber Fuhriman, recovering perfectionist and serial accomplisher. If you're anything like I used to be, you've been living your life thinking that if you accomplish enough stuff, you'll finally find the success you've always wanted. But what if it's not about accomplishing more stuff? What if it's about accomplishing the right stuff? I believe you don't find success. You create it by intentionally designing the life you want and having the courage to get out of your comfort zone to live your design. I went from doing what I was supposed to do to doing what I love to do, and now I get to help others do the same. Keep listening as I chat with inspiring people who make it their mission to live their best life every day and learn how you too can live the life you've always wanted. Really quickly, before we jump into this, I want to give you a quick reminder that this episode is brought to you by Success Development Solutions and the Design Your Life Mastermind. The Design Your Life Mastermind is exactly that. It is created to help you build a blueprint to the life that you have always wanted, and then surround you with the people, resources, and opportunities that will allow you to execute that plan. If this is something that you're interested in, if you are thinking, man, I really need to figure out what it is I really want out of my life, and I need somebody to help me do that, click on the Calendly link below and let's have a conversation and see how we can get you to a place where you are actually living the life that you have always wanted. With that being said, let's talk about relationships. It's really interesting that we just mentioned the Design Your Life Mastermind because that is truly what a mastermind is all about. The relationships that you build with others, the relationships that you build with expert speakers, the relationships that you build with yourself, which is so important. We spend so much time projecting what it is we think that people care about. We spend so much time running through the filters in our head of what it is that we think we show up as, what other people want to hear, and trying to adjust our positions to fit what we think other people want to hear. We also spend so much time in our head thinking, do I deserve this? Am I worthy? Is this something that I can accomplish? I know that sounds ridiculous, but I can tell you from personal experience that that belief that you don't deserve to have the connection, that you don't deserve to have the results of what that connection would bring, that you aren't worthy of, or that nobody would want to build a connection with you, that position is incredibly detrimental to your success. And you may think, what does my self-worth have to do with my willingness to build connections? And the answer is that everything that goes on in your mind is filtered through your belief system. And if you believe you're not worthy, then you are going to sabotage every opportunity that exists for you to be able to achieve what it is that you think you're not worthy of having. So let's talk about this idea of relationships. Let's talk about how to create them, how to build them, how to nurture them really quickly. So, first of all, part of this episode is really created because I am tired of having people message me pretending to build a relationship, if they even do that, when the only reason that they are reaching out to me is for the purpose of selling me something, having me join their Facebook group, getting me to be involved in their product in some way or form. Am I saying that that can't be an objective down the road? No, it absolutely can. We all have expectations when we determine whether something is worth the resource of our time and energy. So when you first meet somebody for the first time, it's very natural for you to think, I want to connect with this person because maybe they're a good fit for my mastermind. I want to connect with this person because maybe they are a good fit for my Facebook group. Maybe, whatever comes after that, maybe you just want to build a friendship with them. The reality is that you cannot find out what benefit you can be to somebody or what benefit they can be to you if you're not willing to first build that connection, which always comes with that first message. It was really interesting to me because I struggled with this for a long time. It was really important to me that I did not come off as manipulative, as salesy. It was really important to me that I was building true connections. And because that was so important to me, I spent so much time in my own way when it came to getting people on the phone, to the point where they'd be having conversations that were showing that they directly needed and would benefit from my product or service. And I could not see a way that I could get to that point in the conversation because that wasn't the purpose of the call. It's really interesting to see how that has progressed over time. And I wanted to share with you some of the things that I've used. So, first of all, whether you're doing this in a sales situation or a personal situation, whether you are reaching out to people for the first time or doing follow up calls or reconnecting with somebody that you have lost connection with, your intention is incredibly important because people will be able to see through a fake intention. Think of all the messages that you've gotten recently and tell me which ones were genuine and which ones were people who just wanted you to respond. Maybe they're not even people. Half the time we're getting messages by bots, right? So, um, in relation to your intention, I got stuck on this idea that we have this intention and that's it. So if my intention is to connect with somebody, I can't talk to anybody about anything but connecting. And that's not the way that it really happens. So I was doing a podcast interview with somebody and they gave me a piece of information that absolutely changed my life. We were talking about reaching out. We were talking about building that first contact, making that first contact to build that relationship. And how do you bridge that gap between that first relationship and then whatever is going to come after that? And this person told me there's a difference between your intention and your objective. Your intention always, without question, has to be to create value and to be of service. If you go into a call with the intention to be of service, to be open to how you can provide value to someone else, the rest is going to work itself out. The second thing that you can have in a call is your objective. Now, maybe your objective is just to add value. Maybe your objective is to see if they're a good fit for a program that you might offer. Maybe your objective is to learn more about their pain points so that you can figure out if there's a problem that exists that doesn't have a solution that you intend on solving through a product or service. Maybe your objective is getting them on as a podcast guest. Maybe your objective is getting them to speak at an event that you have. Whatever your objective is, that is separate from your intention, which has to always be service and value based. When you look at it that way and you reach out to people and you know that you have a good intention in reaching out to them, then you also have to know that you cannot control their response. So if someone who would be reaching out to others uses the same strategy, but they don't have the right intention, then they may perceive your message as a sales tactic. And if that's the case, that is their perception, not your message, that is the problem. Finding out that what other people think of us is none of our business was a huge part of my growth journey. And it helped with the sales process and the connection process so much because I knew if I'm reaching out to somebody and they perceive me a certain way, as long as I am acting within what is integrity to me, then that other person either isn't ready to or isn't supposed to hear my message. And that's okay. And then you move on. What you don't do is let it stop you from reaching out to somebody else because one person told you that this isn't the way it's done. I'm seeing this a lot on social media right now, where there's somebody will make a comment about how they're tired of being pitched. And then all of a sudden, the people that are watching that or reading that are saying, oh my gosh, do I pitch like this? And those are good questions to ask yourself. But if the answer is no, then don't allow one person's opinion to cause you to change your entire strategy. And this goes for communication as well in relationships and friendships and business coworker relationships. If you are saying something that needs to be said, it may be that the other person doesn't want to hear it or isn't ready to hear it, but maybe it's what they need to hear. And would you be doing them a disservice if you held back because they were dictating the constraints of that relationship? If anybody listening to this is a service provider, when somebody tells you, I don't need your service, and you know damn well they do need your service, is them saying, oh, I don't need it right now? Are you doing them any favors by letting them off the hook that easily? And if the answer to that is no, if you really believe in the product or service that you have, and you really believe the person that you're talking to would benefit from that product or service, they're convincing themselves they don't need it for a reason that is unrelated to your product or service. Understanding what that is by really having true conversations with them, not getting defensive, being able to really dig to the bottom of what it is that they don't think they need is incredibly important. And you can only do that if you take the time to build a real relationship. You can only take the time to build a real relationship if your intention is directly on point with adding value and providing service. And apparently, if you can't hear it, Jasmine agrees because she is squeaking a toy behind me. So my apologies for that. When it comes to any type of relationship building, personal, professional, romantic, family-based, whatever that is, it is your job to understand your integrity line, your intention, your objective, and make sure that you are always staying within those things. Cold calling has always been a part of sales. It's always been a part. One of the most frustrating things that I hear is when people say, I'm so tired of people messaging me. That's great. How do you expect to meet new people? That's the same thing as saying, I'm so tired of people saying hi to me when I walk down the street, right? I'm so tired of people acting like I exist is basically what that's saying. If you don't want to hear the message, you don't have to hear the message, but that shouldn't stop somebody from reaching out to say, hey, if you're doing this in a sales environment, one of the most powerful statements I ever heard was nobody wants to be sold and everybody wants to buy. So our job as educators, not pushing a product or service, and education falls within that be of service and add value line, right? What it comes down to, guys, relationships are incredibly important. The way you nurture them, the way you follow up with people, the proof is in the follow-up, right? How many people do you know that bought something on the first attempt? How many people do you know said, oh, this is my best friend after one conversation? How many people do you know that went straight from hello to marriage? Now, there may be some. Those are not the examples we're talking about. So with that being said, the nurturing of that relation is incredibly important. The nurturing of that relationship is incredibly important. Your mindset, do you deserve it? Are you worthy of it? Feeding directly into your strategy of how you're going to make contact with people. What's your intention? What's your objective? What's your integrity line? If you are following those two things, if you are keeping those in mind, and then if you also know that as long as you are in integrity with the first two things that we just mentioned, you're worthy, you deserve it, intention and objective, then the response that you get from the other person means either they're in their own way, you owe it to them to see them, to show them how your product, service, or relationship is in their best interest, or they are not supposed to hear your message right now. If you're able to get around whatever objections may exist, if you're able to overcome those, if you're able to continue to nurture that relationship, adjust, find out what it is that this person really needs at this point in time, then the rest falls into place. But you cannot have the life that you want, especially in the entrepreneurial world. Connections are everything. You cannot have the life that you want if you are not willing to build true connections. In order to build true connections, you have to believe that you are worthy of connection. Your mindset is incredibly important. Your actions are incredibly important. Your intention is incredibly important. So I'd encourage you to look back at how you've been showing up. Have you been really nurturing relationships in a way that is a win-win-win for everybody? Have you been nurturing relationships in a way that moves you closer to your goal? And if not, I'd get really curious as to why. Again, this episode is brought to you by Success Development Solutions and the Design Your Life Mastermind. That Calendly link, if you are ready to really dig in and create the life that you have always wanted, if you are ready to do the work, let's talk. Click that Calendly link. As always, remember, you have the ability to design the life that you have always wanted, and you owe it to yourself to surround yourself with the people, the tools, and the resources that will help push you out of your comfort zone so you can execute that plan. My name is Amber Fuhriman, and this is the More Than Corporate podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the More Than Corporate podcast. If anything that was said during this episode resonated with you or provided value in any way, it would mean the world to me if you would head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the More Than Corporate podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. If you'd also like to connect, I've created a Facebook group that is full of amazing people who also make it their mission to live their best life every single day. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, the name of that Facebook group is Success Center. Head over there, request to join, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.